Hello everyone and welcome back to the AltFi Digital Summit. With us now we have Ali Niknam, the founder and CEO of Dutch challenger bank, Bunq. Before that, he founded TransIP, the third biggest domain name and web hosting provider in the world. So Ali, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very excited to be chatting with you today.
Me too. My first digital interview thing, so I hope it's okay.
Mine as well, so we're in the same boat. So this is a question that we're asking all of our speakers. What is your advice to entrepreneurs and business leaders during this time?
To keep your head cool, to wake up and see that the sun is still out, the weather is great, life will go on, and frankly, I think as with any other crisis, this crisis will provide a lot of great opportunities. So keep using your head, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, and opportunities will emerge, and then just grab them.
Lovely. And obviously, Bunq is not your first company. So what piece of advice do you wish that you'd known when you first started out?
That's a great question. I think none, actually. I think one of the nice things about being an entrepreneur is just you start with something you're passionate about and something you care about, and you hit your head 10 times a day and you just pick yourself up and continue.
Amazing. Bunq recently extended its partnership with MasterCard and expanded across the whole of Europe. Do you have any plans to jump across the pond like your rivals, N26, Revolut, and launch stateside?
Well, the tagline for Bunq is Bank of the Free. And I've always said that it's one of my dreams to go to the land of the free. And also me being a techie, I love to do something in the US because that's like the home ground of all, or at least a lot of the tech innovations. However, at Bunq, we do things at our own pace. We like to really focus on creating a product that people love to use and make sure that we are ready before we enter a country. So I hope that noise isn't me, by the way, but yeah, I'm trying to, so we're not in a hurry, and we'll get there when the time comes.
Amazing. And sort of along the same vein, Bunq is currently a Euro-only bank. Do you have any plans to offer other currencies in the near future, or has coronavirus sort of scuppered those plans?
Frankly, we're not that impacted by coronavirus, other than us being, working from home mostly. And we are looking at a lot of things, but as with all innovations at Bunq, they start and end with the wants and needs of our users. So obviously, there's only so much we can do in the limited amount of time and resources we have. And so we always involve our users to determine what we should do next. And then we like to surprise and delight them and announce new features as a surprise. So if you would like to have Bunq in different currencies, go to together.bunq.com and share your thoughts with us. And if you get enough of a following, we'd be happy to create it for you.
Amazing. And you might have heard earlier, we were running a poll about whether or not we might see the acquisition of a European neobank by an incumbent. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a possibility in 2020?
Well, typically, because by now I'm older than I would like to admit, but having gone through some of these crises in the past, typically the pattern is always the same. So at first there's denial, it'll all be okay, and then there's some kind of panic, and then nothing will ever be okay, and then things turn out to be okay anyway. And somewhere along that line, you get a lot of M&A because there's a lot of quality and a lot of assets that are available at a discount. So, for example, at Bunq, we're also looking to see if we can find some opportunities for ourselves. So I definitely think that somewhere down the line there will be some sort of M&A or some, not just, I mean, M&A stands for, obviously stands for mergers and acquisitions. So possibly there might be some mergers, possibly there might be some acquisitions from the incumbents. Who knows? I would be surprised if nothing happens.
And just a quick note to our audience, don't forget to pop any questions you've got for Ali in your chat and someone will put them up for you. But also, you recently introduced Bunq Super Green, which helps your users plant trees. And you've planted,
that's a really cool one. I love that one.
And you've helped plant over 100,000 trees so far.
Yeah.
So where did this drive for sustainability and eco-friendly products come from? And have you seen a bigger customer appetite to expand these offerings even more?
Well, this stems from the history of Bunq, because we were founded as a response to the previous financial crisis, and so doing good for the world has always been a part of our DNA. And we're always trying to think of ways to make life easy, in a broader sense. Like, how can we give our users insights in what they spend on? How can we help them budget easily? How can we help them when they're on travel? How can we help them become more sustainable? And as we try to figure these things out, we come across many different touch points. And some months ago, we wanted to launch a new product that included the really beautiful stainless steel metal card we have. And we wanted to somehow tie that in with sustainability, because our metal card lasts for 6 years, which is 50% longer than your typical plastic card. And then someone said, I don't recall who it was, like, hey, if we're taking the sustainability angle for this product, why not plant some trees? Because, who doesn't like trees? They're good to reduce CO2 emissions. They're a joy for the eye to see. I mean, nobody can possibly not like trees. So we went out and we did our research and we did some calculations, and we figured that by just using this beautiful green card, our average user would become CO2 free in just 2 years. And this was an amazing insight to us, because you have this huge, almost incomprehensible problem of climate change and the environment, and nobody quite knows how to solve it. And, should you take a flight, or, should you change your eating habits? And we came to the conclusion that just by using a different card, a very simple thing to do, you can contribute significantly to a better environment. So, we're really excited about it.
Amazing. And also, just before this interview, you mentioned that you were coding. Do you think that your background in coding has helped you build a better bank?
I think so, because and I really was. In my other screen, you can't see it from there, but it's running some stuff right now. That's why I was worried it might impact the video stream. But I think engineers are really paving the way towards the future, because any engineer at heart is used to looking at the problem, analyzing it, and then solving it. And whether you build bridges to bring people closer together, or whether you're a coder like me, building apps that make life easy, engineers typically solve problems for all of us, for all of our sakes. So I do think so. It's more the mindset than the skill itself, I guess.
And also, you still remain the largest investor in Bunq to date.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans to widen your fundraising efforts and introduce other investors? Have those plans changed because of coronavirus?
It could be. So when we first launched back in 2012, I said I really didn't want any investors. I was in a fortunate position to be able to make that call, that decision, because I believe the one thing companies should focus on when they launch is to make sure that they create a product that their customers, or their users in our case, love to use. And so I really wanted to have that super focus on our users' happiness and on making sure that they have a great experience. And we've spent a lot of time and energy making sure that that is the case. I mean, anyone in the industry will probably tell you that Bunq is by far the best you can get. And many of the incumbents have started copying bits and pieces of all of the cool stuff that we have created. So I think we have been tremendously successful in really understanding what our users want and how we can make their life easy. And now that that is ingrained in our DNA, we can at least consider getting funding. Now, if and when we will do so, it depends on a whole lot of factors. Just as our dreams of going to the US, we're in no hurry. I'm still in the fortunate position to be able to, choose whichever way I believe is best for the long-term progress and the long-term success of Bunq, and it really depends on that.
So sort of, obviously you've said that some of your plans may not have been interrupted by, but they're still dreams. Do you think that, or what do you think will be the lasting impact of COVID-19 on fintech?
Well, I believe that COVID-19 is a crisis just like any other. And I believe human beings, I mean, we're the result of 100 million years of evolution, right? We are built to overcome adversity. And so I think, like with any other crisis, we will pull through and we will be better for it. I cannot foresee yet in what way or form. I mean, I know a lot of thoughts are going out now to an increased adoption of digital everything. But, and maybe this is a bit too abstract, but if we look back over the past hundreds of years, we've had so many crises, and crises are actually really useful, I think, for us to get ahead, because they clean up all the mess we leave behind, and they create the breeding ground for new innovations and new moves forward. The unfortunate thing about this crisis, of course, the loss of human life, which is very, very, unfortunate.
It is indeed. We're going to take some questions from the audience now. So from James Matthew, what is Bunq's tech strategy? Is it an in-house build, or do you partner with other fintechs, or is it a mixture of both?
So it's a mix of both, but we all our core stuff has been self-built. So we're our own we're our own issuer, whether it's on online payment systems or whether it's MasterCard. We have direct connections, and we've built everything ourselves. For certain bits and pieces where that makes sense from the user's perspective, we partner with other fintechs. So, for example, our users indicated that they would love to send money in different currencies abroad. And we did our research, and we figured out that TransferWise was the ideal partner to make that happen. And so we kind of interlinked, and you can today use TransferWise directly from your Bunq app. But mostly our core systems are very much home-built, self-built. In fact, they're literally being built as we speak.
Hopefully coded by you. Amazing. Another question from the audience is from Jennifer Harrison, which is, are you rethinking the attractiveness of travel-related benefits, given that it's unclear when international travel will reopen, or what feedback are you getting from your customers?
That's a great question. So I think one of the nice things about Bunq is that we are quite broad. We have several propositions, we have several subscriptions, we have several different products, and one of them is indeed travel. But we also have, full-fledged bank accounts. We have a full banking license. For persons, we can serve SMEs as well. We can serve freelancers. We can serve a whole range of people. And of course, we have the super green proposition for everyone who is concerned about the environment and actually wants to do something about it. So what we are seeing today is that our revenue is still growing at an incredible pace. We are seeing interchange revenue slightly decline because of the travel restrictions, but we're actually seeing an increase in pace in our business subscriptions. They're growing even quicker. So, financially speaking, I'm not too worried. And I think the nice thing about Bunq is that it is quite broad and it tries to make life easy for users in many different ways. And, and I'm quite certain that travel will be restored sooner or later. I'm an optimist.
Another question from the audience is, what would you say differentiates Bunq from its peers and rivals, so Revolut, N26, etc.?
Yeah, so there's two ways to answer that question. One is to go through like this shopping list of we have this feature and they don't, and we're better in this regard and they're better in that regard, and et cetera, et cetera. But I think the real difference between Bunq and all the other guys is that we have such a passion to be close to our user, and we have a community that is highly engaged, and we have the technical capability to build products that tune into the wants and wishes of our users. So I think that at an abstract level really sets us apart. Not to say that the other guys aren't great. I mean, it's very impressive to see what many of the others have achieved. We're just different.
Fab. And also this one is from Paul Logan. Do you see Bunq becoming a super app for consumers and or SMEs like Revolut?
I don't think so. I think Bunq is very focused on what it does. We carefully pick and choose where we want to make a difference in our users' life. And we really get guided by what our community, asks from us, and then we overlap that with our values. So Super Green, our green card that we discussed earlier, is a great example of that. And I think Bunq has always been about focus and about doing things really, really great. And I think one of the things we tend to say here is we would much rather be something to someone than to be nothing to everyone.
Lovely. And this is kind of, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but this morning it was announced that Monzo was raising funds at a 40% discount. What do you make of that? Does that change your future plans for funding?
Well, first of all, I'm happy that Tom, because I know Tom and I think it's a wonderful guy. I'm happy that he closed the round. I think I wouldn't be comfortable being in his position because it's obviously a very difficult decision to make. So, my hat's off to him to continue to make decisions in these difficult times. Valuation, venture capital, an accelerated and maybe a too big focus on user growth has never been Bunq's thing. I believe it was in a different interview with AltFi some time ago, where I said some of our peers, and I don't necessarily mean Monzo, are treating this like a sprint, whereas Bunq is more prepared to run a marathon. And we're running everything at our own pace. We're carefully balancing out our users' wants and needs, our long-term business wants and needs. We're making sure that everything we do is as sustainable as possible. That includes Bunq itself. That's why we have the subscription model, because we believe, like with any other business, we need to be healthy as well, right? We need to make a profit. We need to have revenue. And so I'm not too worried, actually. I think we're in a good position.
Quite happy where you are. Lovely. We've also got another question from the audience. This one's from Ajit Barrick. What was the very first feature that Bunq rolled out of the many features that you now provide?
Okay, great question. A trip down memory lane. Okay, so a couple of highlights I remember from the first couple of years is, first of all, that we got a full-fledged banking permit, and we were the first in 35 years to get a greenfield banking permit. And this was like amidst the crisis, so it was really deemed impossible. And this has been a big news item ever since. Second of all, I think the fact that we then, at rapid speed, within a year's time, managed to get out a fully functioning app with full mobile onboarding, which I believe we were the first, with biometric security, which I believe we were the first, with validating online payments through simply scanning a QR code instead of entering your password, which we were the first. Having multiple sub-accounts so you can budget easily, which we were the first, and I believe we're still the only ones. Yeah, I don't know. It's too much. There are so many things, and I think these are a couple.
A lot of firsts there.
Yeah.
You also mentioned earlier that you have a very active community. Are there any changes or products that that members of the community have suggested that you have taken on board and subsequently introduced?
Yes, definitely. A lot, actually. And so one of the things we do at Bunq is we really like that element of surprise. And every 3 months or 4 months or so, we have these things that we call Bunq updates. The last one was Bunq update 13. And during a Bunq update, we gather together in the center of Amsterdam at this beautiful theater, the De La Mar. It is very well known in the Netherlands. Like, it's a really classic theater with beautiful velvet red seats, and we get hundreds of users in, and we actually showcase to them all of the stuff that we have been building for them. And we always, at the very least, take out one feature and pinpoint a specific user who started that feature request. And I think one of the great things was at Bunq update 13, as I was highlighting this specific feature, it turns out that user was in the audience. I didn't know. And so it was such a fun, and he was surprised and I was surprised, and it was a great moment.
Lovely. Another question from the audience here. Do you envisage Bunq offering protection products for your members, such as mobile device insurance, to support the drive to reduce landfill waste?
Sorry, I didn't quite get that question. Can you please repeat?
Are you going to begin offering protection products, so insurance, for mobile devices to support the reduction of landfill waste?
Protection? Yeah, maybe I'm going to, maybe I just don't get. So are you talking about insurances for mobile phones?
Yeah. So yeah, insurance for products, for specific items like mobile phones, for example, to reduce waste.
Oh, to reduce waste, right? Okay. So are we? Yes, we are. What are we going to do depends on our users. So if you have, whoever asked that question, if you have a great suggestion or if you have a great idea, please go to together.bunq.com and share it with us, and we'd be happy to look and see whether we can deliver. And I think one of the examples where we're already doing that is, the green card is 50% more durable, so that's already a huge difference. But also the way it is delivered, it is done so by FedEx Green, so that's CO2 neutral as well. And the cardboard holder in which it comes is really, well, we don't have time for it, but I would love to show it to you. But anyway, that's recycled paper as well. So where we can, we're trying to make a difference for the better. But obviously, we can still do better. And if you have any great suggestions, we'd be happy to listen.
We've had another comment from the audience here. It says that Bunq has less user experience they've ever experienced in a banking app. How have you managed to balance the importance of user experience against technology and
Right. Well, that's a great question, because I often get the sense that to some people, technology is a thing by itself. But, and maybe this is because I've been coding since I was 9, but for me, technology at a broad sense is a means to an end. And the end is to serve its user. I mean, we didn't create telephones for the sake of creating telephones. We created telephones to solve a problem we had as human beings. We wanted to communicate with each other, and over a certain distance, that was impossible. And so we came up with this solution that addressed that. So to me, I don't care about tech at all, frankly. I care about what drives and moves our users. And what I care about is how we tune into that in the best possible way we can.
Lovely. And really quickly, just before we go, we're rapidly running out of time. If fintech came out of the 2008 crisis, what do you think is going to come out of this one?
Wow. I hope what will come out of this crisis is for us people to be reminded how important it is to stick close to each other, to embrace each other, to help each other in times of need. And I hope it will kickstart a reverse from some of the things we have seen in the past couple of years, where people have become polarized and have started to drift away from each other. And I hope that the one good thing that will come out of this tragedy is that people start caring about each other more.
Amazing. Thank you so much for chatting to us today, Ali. Next up, we have the CEO of Plaid, Zach Perrett. So don't go anywhere.